Good morning, everyone. I'm Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, and I have the honor of representing Illinois' 3rd Congressional District. Before we get started today, I want to really start observing a moment of silence to honor the grief that so many people still carry from families torn apart and futures shattered on 9/11. Thank you. As you heard me mention a moment ago, I get to represent Illinois' 3rd Congressional District in the city of Chicago and its northwestern suburbs. But what I think I really want to make sure that you know is that I'm the proud daughter of working class immigrants who came to this country for a better life for their children. I am a proud recipient of Chicago public schools, free school lunches, subsidized housing, a public transit, state colleges, and so many other public-funded supports that help working people thrive. So I'm clear just what investing in our communities look like because I'm a product of it. Investing in our communities make public safety, healthcare access, achieving higher education, home ownership, small business development, and much more possible for our families. But let's be honest, over and over again, we've seen how this administration, aided by Republicans in Congress, have extorted tax benefits for their billionaire bosses on the backs of American people. American people that unfortunately have to make decisions between paying for the rent or being able to go to the doctor. Just recently, House Republicans passed a billionaire budget that gives $4.5 billion in tax breaks. I think we got it wrong. It's trillion in tax breaks. Let me say that again. $4.5 trillion in tax breaks to the ultra-wealthy like Donald, Elon, Jeff, and Mark, while at the same time cutting trillions in programs like Medicaid and SNAP benefits. The extreme politics that we see here, they're designed specifically to cut, rob, and systematically neglect working families while they try to sell us out of us with this idea of austerity, fear, and division. They have the audacity to tell us that they're making all of these cuts because we're broke. We're broke, but we're giving trillions in tax breaks. Help me make that sense. But we couldn't be broke if, in fact, the rich paid their fair share, which is exactly why we are here today, this morning. Fair taxation could fund budgets that center working families. It could fix our tax system. It could create opportunities and policies for working people so they're no longer trying to survive, but they can begin that pathway where they can feel like they're finally thriving. Again, let me be very clear. We are not broke. Our finances, our budget is what it is because of a policy choice. Policies that are broken. So I think today is a good day for millionaires, for billionaires, to pay their fair share. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah? Say it louder. Yes?
Yes.
So, folks, here we are. There can be enough tax revenue to fund affordable housing, free education, health care, and so much more. We have enough tax revenue to make sure working people are the ones that get the tax breaks in tough times. To get here, we need to fight for the kind of tax policies that help us achieve a working people's budget. One that ensures that, yes, Donald, Elon, Mark, and Jeff pay their fair share. And that's why I'm so excited this morning to introduce to you the Equal Tax Act. So what is it? Bottom line, billionaires and ultra-wealthy investors pay lower taxes and tax rates than nurses, teachers, and even construction workers. And you and I both know that doesn't make sense because it's not right. But that is what's happening right now. Common types of money that is made from assets and stocks, long-term capital gains, and most dividends to be taxed are actually taxed at lower rates than the money that working people earn through wages and salaries. So here's what the Equal Tax Act will do. It would change the law to make sure that more of the money made by the ultra-wealthy would be taxed. It would close those common loopholes used by the richest households to evade paying taxes, and family farms and small businesses would be protected. Let me make sure that I say that again. Family businesses and small farms would be protected with the Equal Tax Act. Because one of the biggest lies we are told is that there's not enough for us to thrive, and that's why we have to cut. But that lie leads to fear, to division, to competition, to greed among those who stand to lose the most by austerity and gain most by solidarity. So the Equal Tax Act is a piece of legislation that is landmark and we know we need in this moment. So I'm ready to tax the rich. Are you ready to get taxed?
Ready.
You ready to get taxed?
Let's go.
So let's go ahead and hear today from Erica Payne, the founder and president of Patriotic Millionaires. Erica.
Thank you so much. Patriotic Millionaires first came together about 16 years ago, realizing that we are facing an existential crisis of inequality in this country. Inequality leads to authoritarianism, period. That's the entire story. There is a historical certainty of a vulnerability to authoritarianism if you create an economy through the political system that does not deliver for ordinary people. We right now have billionaires taking joy rides into space while people who work full-time are sleeping in their cars. And that's not the worst of it. The worst of it is that people sleeping in their cars are paying twice the tax rate as the billionaires taking joy rides. We have been playing a game of economic Jenga for decades, pulling from the bottom, pulling from the middle, loading it into an increasingly small number of people at the top, and the whole system is in the process of coming down. There's a reason everybody in America is mad at everybody else in America right now about everything. They should be. The economy is rigged against working people in favor of the rich. It's immoral, and it's a stupid way to run an economy, and it's a terrible way to run a society. We treat money differently depending on how you make it. The best deal is to inherit it. The second is to make it from investments. And the people left holding the bag are working people. If you work 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, and make $100,000 a year, make $100,000 that year, and an investor pushes a button on an E-Trade account and sells $100,000 profit on his stock, you will end the year $9,000 poorer than the person sitting on the beach sipping a daiquiri. Money is money is money is money. It shouldn't matter how you make it. And when you have a driver that treats their money as their money as more valuable than everybody else's money, there is one way this math is going to go. We have created an inequality certainty in our economy, and it's about to bring this whole thing down. We want to preserve democratic capitalism for the long term. Every politician in America says they work for the working class. Patriotic Millionaires say, prove it. Stop taxing your working constituents twice as much as you're taxing your political donors. You want to be the party of the working class? Prove it. Get on this bill. Representative Ramirez has said enough. You have put forward a bold, simple proposal. Thank you so much for your leadership.
Thank you. You heard it from Erica. Now I want you to hear from Morris Pearl, who is a chair of Patriotic Millionaires and the former managing director of BlackRock.
Thank you. I've seen firsthand how our tax code allows those with the most to exploit our system for their own financial gains. Something we hear is that investors like me need lower rates to make our investments incentives to invest and create jobs and grow the economy. I'm here to tell you that is a complete and utter lie. If you have $1 million trying to decide what to do with it, you have two options. You can invest that $1 million and make money, or you can stuff the $1 million in cash under your mattress. If you're business-minded like me, the obvious choice is to invest it. Even if tax rates are really high, you'll still end up with more that way. The last time I checked, mattresses do not pay very high returns. The other guys say, oh, we have to appease the rich people or else. but they never really say or else what. Maybe they think we'll go on strike from being rich people or something. That's not possible. We can't go on strike. We'll be rich even if we don't want to be. And even if we could, that probably wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Take it from a Wall Street investor. There is no reason whatsoever why I should pay a lower tax rate on the money I make than the money the nurse works working overtime shifts. That's why I'm thrilled to see Representative Ramirez introduce the Equal Tax Act to correct this ridiculous, blatant injustice in our tax code. And here's our Vice Chairman, Stephen Prince, to explain what this really means to investors. Thank you.
Thank you, Marshall. Thank you, Representative Ramirez. Thank you so much. My name is Stephen Prince, and I'm from Waycross, Georgia, raised down there in a middle-class environment right on the edge of the Okefenokee Swamp. I never in a million years when I was growing up in South Georgia thought that I grew up to be a millionaire, but here I am. As a fellow patriotic millionaire, Morris said that rich investors like us do not need tax breaks. The whole system that we're operating under today is one built by those people who get the most gain by the tax laws that we have passed in my lifetime. In my lifetime, we have seen everything. America in 1951, the year I was born, we had a balanced economy, and there was not nearly the inequality that we have today. But what we've done in the last 74 years in my lifetime is we've switched the whole game. All the rules of the game are different now. And the working class don't understand that they're being taken to the barn every day, and the rich people are making and keeping all the money. The real reason why investors get to pay a lower tax rate than working people boils down to this: greed and power. Rich people, my fellow rich people and their friends in Congress talk a lot about how we need lower taxes in the economy and the stock market and this and that and the other thing, but trust me, it's no more complicated than the fact that they simply want to hoard as much of the green stuff for themselves as humanly possible. And they have the pull and the power in state capitals and in this building in itself in order to make sure that that happens. I'm no saint. I'm greedy too, just like most of us are. I'm just greedy for a different sort of society. And the society that we have right now is not the one that I want to leave my children and my grandchildren. If we don't change the way things are set up right now, the America that we know, by the end of my life, it will not take long. We're on a tipping point right now. And we've got to do something to change this thing from where it is right now, and it's tax law. Tax law to change the way that money's distributed. Let me just make one small point. All the terms that the wealthy people use, capital gains, the death tax, all those things are just words that they made up so they could protect their wealth. That's all it boils down to. Why do we need as many billionaires in this country as we have? We don't. Why do we need as many people worth $100 million? We don't. And there's plenty of money to go around. There's no reason in this country that people should be without health care, without housing, and without food. Thank you very much, and back us on this bill.
Thank you, Stephen. So you must be asking yourself, so I have a bunch of billionaires here who are saying, tax me more. Yeah, it's not that you need coffee because you think you heard something wrong. The patriotic millionaires, first of all, let me say thank you. Thank you for the recognition that a stable economy is a kind of economy where all people are able to thrive, not just some. But two, take it from them. They know how this system has been rigged intentionally to make sure that you are never able to get ahead. They know it, and they've come to us and said, we need to change that. Because you can't just campaign and say tax the rich. We can't just do these protests and rallies, say tax the rich. And then when we have the opportunity to actually do it, we don't have members of Congress co-sponsoring or forcing a vote. The Equal Tax Act, here's what it does. I know tax code can be really complicated for some. All that I will say that people can say all across the board, I've never met a person, a working class person who ever said the tax system is fair for them. They say, you tax me, and what do I get for it? It makes me broke. But here's what you need to know. Income that you make from working your 9 to 5 or investment income is not taxed at the same rate. Erica just mentioned that. You could work 40, 50, 60 hours. And some of you are working 60 hours to make $80,000 a year. Because you're not making it when you're making minimum wage or certainly $10, $15 an hour. And when you go back to make your taxes, You think, well, I made a little more, so maybe we'll be able to finally get that new car that we need so that we can transport our family. You come back and you realize, now I have to pay more taxes. Well, someone who made an investment for that same amount, for 1/50th of the time that you spent that year working your butt off, ends up paying less taxes. The Equal Tax Act will change that. And it won't just change that. It will actually generate more income, so we stop saying that we're broke, so that we can actually fully fund schools, job training, make it easier, more accessible for people to go to college or go to a trade school. So fixing the tax system in this country, making the rich finally pay their fair share, will make our economy stronger for all of us, including millionaires. So, for all of my colleagues who have not signed on to the bill as a co-sponsor, today is a great day to tax the rich. Jump on this bill, and let's make sure that we build the kind of momentum, regardless if you're a Republican or a Democrat, to ensure that working class people are centered and finally the rich pay their fair share. Let's get it done. Thank you, Patriotic Millionaires. Let's do it.
Thank you, Representative Ramirez.